Hey, welcome back to the channel. Got a little something on the bench for you here. So got a little pile of motors. I want to go through these motors and I want to make sure that all these motors are either good or bad. I want to know for sure before I throw them away. I want to know before I put them in my flight bag for an extra motor in case of damage or put them in rotation for a build. I want to know if these motors are any good. We're going to check the 3 phases for the voltage output. We're going to use some math over here to kind of go through and see if our kV is correct for those voltage outputs against the manufacturer's specifications, and if everything is copacetic, we'll check, obviously other things about the motor, but internally it seems to be okay. We'll put it in rotation. If not, we'll throw it away. So I'm going to go through all of this stuff in this video, and we're going to figure out, are they good? Are they bad? Stay tuned. Alright, so getting started here, the first thing I'm going to do is kind of go over the equipment that we have on the bench to perform this test. If you've been following the channel, you know that this is a pretty good multimeter. I've recommended it. I got this on Amazon for pretty cheap. I don't have any Amazon affiliated links, but I think I have one in the description. You just need a multimeter that can measure AC voltage. So pretty much all of them do. So we're going to set our meter to AC voltage so we can measure each phase of the motor. We need a drill, and then on the drill you can see right here there's a little piece of reflective tape that comes with the RPM meter. Okay, so the tachometer is going to measure how many RPMs our drill is going to be running, and that little reflective piece is what that registers. So make sure that the reflective piece is on a non-reflective surface, so you don't want to stick it on here. If you have a drill that has an all shiny chuck on it, you want to make sure you put some black tape on it first, then put your 12 millimeter piece of reflective tape on there so that you can get an accurate reading. So we're going to measure our drill, how many RPMs. We're going to use our meter for AC voltage to collect the data from each phase of our motor. I have a bad motor, I have a Whoop motor, and then I have a brand new motor similar to this one. We're going to jump over here and we're going to do some math. We're going to make sure that our voltage coming out of the motor is correct. So we're going to check each phase, and then we're going to take and we're going to do a mathematical equation with the math that we receive, the voltages and all that, so that we can figure out the kV. We could check with the manufacturer's website to make sure that kV is correct, or on the motor, like on this one, we know, this is 2500 kV. This one's 2400 kV. That one's 25,000 kV. And we can go on the manufacturer's site and we can see the no load data from their site. If you're buying motors from a manufacturer or from somewhere that doesn't have specification data, like the thrust and the amps and all of that stuff, I would suggest not doing it. If the motor manufacturer can't put that data on it, it's not worth your dollars. So let's go ahead and get started here. I was kind of debating which one to do first. I think it would be interesting to see the bad motor so you can kind of get an idea of what does a bad motor show up like. So obviously this motor doesn't have any bearing issue. That's another thing you want to look at, is the bearings smashed up? Did you waller your bell so the bell's rubbing? You want to make sure mechanically it's fine. You're just wanting to check internally if it's fine. So this has really good bearings. The bell is nice and true. It doesn't rub. But the windings, the internal makeup of this motor is not any good anymore. So let's prove it. Let's jump over here and prove that. Let's move some stuff out of the way. Want to hook this up to their drill. This drill has a 1/2-inch chuck on it. Makes it kind of difficult to do the Whoop motors. So I just end up putting the entire Whoop motor into the drill. We're going to grab our multimeter and we're going to put it on AC voltage, and we're going to connect to our first phase. So there's 3 phases coming out of a brushless motor: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and we're going to check the output of this phase, and then this phase. Okay, does that make sense? So we're just going to be checking the voltage reading out of each one as we spin it up. All right, let me get this so you can see it. Is that good there? You can read that pretty good. All right, so right off the bat, I can tell you already that that phase that we're connected to is bad, because we should be 0, 0, 0. There shouldn't be any resistance between these phases. It should look like that. So let's go ahead and connect it, and we'll isolate this one. If you can see here, I'm just pushing him up out of the way so he's not touching. I'm just going to separate these with my fingers, and we're going to spool this dude up. All right, you can see there's not much voltage difference happening between there. So let's go ahead and check a different phase, because we know that one's probably not any good. Okay, so we're same scenario. So it might be this leg here that's bad. Let's go ahead and swap over to a different one. There's no sense in repeating ourselves. Okay, so now we're all zeros. So now we know that this phase is good. Let's go ahead and get a voltage reading. All right, so 0.466. So if we want to, we could mathematically figure out if our KV is any good. But we already know that the other phase is burnt or damaged, or there's something wrong with it. Now I know for a fact that this motor is smoked, because I watched it smoke out in the field. So I know that either one or two of the phases in this motor is bad, but we just proved it. Because right now we can see that 0.466 volts. Okay, let's take our meter here, and we're just going to get a reading of RPM. So 16, we'll say 1,614. So let's grab our paperwork here, and let's do a quick measurement on that one phase. We're only going to have the one phase to work with, but we're just going to do our math here real quick to find out what KV that's running at. So let's go ahead and say we're gonna decide KV, and 16, what was it, 1614 RPM. All right, so we're going to divide our RPM by a true voltage number. Okay, so what is our true voltage number? It's not 0.466. Okay, it's not. That's not our true number, 0.467. We want to divide our RPM by our true number. So we're going to multiply that times the root of 2, which is 1.414. That number, I'm going to put in the description the articles that I've read, research that I've done. This one article seems to explain it the best. But when you're dealing with AC voltage, you're dealing with a sine wave. Depending on how wide the sine wave is your hertz. And there's a lot that kind of goes into it. And mathematically, that's what we're doing to find our KV, is we're going to multiply against that. This video would be extremely long if I explained this in more detail. That's why in the description you can go read about it yourself. And then we're going to multiply we know that this motor's probably got some internal things going on. It's not perfect. So we want to kind of give it like, okay, should we say about 5%, like take a 5% hit on this motor because of, internal struggles that might be happening. The other thing is when you spool up a motor, the faster you spool up that motor, there's actually electromagnetic forces that are happening. So we're going to look at a 0.95. We're going to multiply that by 0.95 to get our 5%. So let's grab a calculator real quick and we'll do this math. Got that where you can see it? All right. And the first thing we're going to do is take our mathematical equation at the bottom. So our 0.467, and we're going to multiply that against our square root of 2, which is 1.414. Again, quite an explanation and description. And then we're going to multiply that by our 5%. And our outcome is going to be 0.627. So We're not going to round up for the 3, so 0.627 is a pretty good number. So 1614 divided by 0.627, and that'll give us our kV. All right, so we're going to take our 16.4 and we're going to divide that by 0.627. So 25, how do you see that? 2,574 kV. So that tells us that this is a 2,500 kV motor. So our kV is coming in at 74, a little 74 above what we should be at. That tells me that that winding is really good. Like we're right on the money. But we can't even get a voltage reading from the other two because it's shot. So let's move to a new motor. So we've already proofed this motor is bad. It's going to go in the trash. I'm not going to actually throw it away because I'll actually use the bearings and everything out of it. The whole point of me doing this video is because I've my hobby dollars have gotten a little low and I've been scrounging for whoop motors. And I don't want to put bad whoop motors on my quad. So let's go ahead and do a whoop motor. I was debating about doing the new motor for this video and not doing a whoop motor, because it's hard to see, but I think you got the idea of what I just did there. So let me go ahead and put my bell of the whoop motor into my drill. You have to pardon me if my voice is cracking up a bit. I'm sick with something. I don't know, bronchitis or who knows what. It's been a trial and tribulation for sure. All right, so we have our whoop motor installed. Let's go ahead and grab us a phase. Okay, we'll get that one isolated out of the way. So we just got 2 of the, doesn't matter which one it is. Get this up here where you can see it. Okay, get this out of the way. We'll go ahead and spin this dude up. Just going to make sure nothing ravels apart. All right, so 0.046. So the voltage generated by that motor was 0.046. So let's go ahead and come over here to our paperwork. We know our drill's running at the same RPM. If the battery goes low, it might reduce the amount, but I think we'll be fine. So we'll go 1614 kV. And we have 0.046. And we're going to multiply that again. Again, all that information is down there. And then 0.95. All right, we'll grab our calculator here. See if I can get that screen to not be aggravating. You should see how I film stuff. It's pretty ridiculous. All right. So we're going to do 0.46 or 0.046, and then we're going to multiply that times our multiplier, 414, and then we're going to multiply that times, so we're going to get our 5%. All right. So our number is, drum roll, 0.061, and we'll go ahead and round him up. 79. All right, so we're going to divide that 1614 divided by our 0.0618. So we're at 26. So we're a little bit high, a little bit above 25,000 kV. But I mean, honestly, when we're dealing with such a little guy, I'm going to say that that's coming in pretty good. I'm happy with that number. Let's check another phase and just make sure our voltage is good. So we could check each phase, and we can do this math for each one. Or you can just simply measure the voltage of all 3 phases, and all 3 phases voltage should be the same or very close to the same. If the voltage from one phase, you're checking your 3 combinations here, here, and here, if one of them are, is significantly different or quite a bit different. I mean, 0.046 is not a very big number to be different from. That would tell you that your motor's probably not any good. So let's go ahead and check this one. Oh, I came off my lead here. You're probably looking at that meter like, oh man, that's terrible. Another bad motor. All right, so 0.046 again. And then we can check our next phase and make sure that it's good to go. So we'll just come over here and grab him. It's hard to see. I'm sorry. I'm sure you get the idea. I'm just grabbing a hold of each one, going through the combinations. All right, I'll keep that still. All right, so all three phases are identical. So this mathematical equation is done. We know that we're getting about 26,000 kV out of that motor. So I can check the bearings. I can check to make sure that, physically this motor is okay, that there's nothing, wrong with it. That the bushing and, the stuff is looking pretty good. So this motor's ready to go on a quad. I'm happy with that. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's do a new motor to kind of wrap things up a little bit. And then we'll jump on the website and we're going to check. Let's go ahead and check this motor. This is a brand new Emax freestyle motor. And it's rated for 2400. So it's a 2306 2400 kV motor. So we'll go ahead and put him in here. Scoot my stuff out of the way here. Turn our paper over so we can get our new numbers. See if I can put this up here. Out of your way. All right, this one's a little easier to work with, probably easier to see. So we're just going to grab any of the phases, doesn't matter. We're just going to isolate those, make sure they're out of the way. So our number here is 0.504. 0.504. We're going to multiply that. Okay, and then let's check our RPM since we've been playing with the drill, and then I might be playing with stuff on site. All right, 16, 18. So let's do our math. Before we do our math, let's just go ahead and check another phase and make sure that it's good to go here. Sounds pretty close. Then we'll take this one off of here and do the last one. All right. So if we were to take an average, you've seen 504 for the first one and then 506, 506. We could just kind of take an average if we want, and we can go 505. All right, so we'll go ahead and do our math. So 0.505 multiplied 1.414 multiply 0.95. So that's going to give us a 0.678. It's 0.6783. But we'll go ahead and just run. Let's go ahead and run it out to 4. Okay, 16, 18 is our RPM. All right, so let's go ahead and do that math real quick. See if I can hold this calculator where you can see it. 16, 18 divided by 0.6783. So our kV coming in at 2385. So it's a 2400 kV motor. So let's go to the website from Emax and we'll check that kV and make sure that it's correct on their no load stats of that motor. So let's go ahead and jump over there. All right, so we're over here at Emax's site. Let's go ahead and scroll down, check out the specs. So KV's 2400. There you go. That's all you get. Well, let's check out Happy Model. Let's check out the Whoop motor we were doing. See what they say. So 2400 is the KV that's on their specifications list. All right, so over at Happy Model, we've got the 0802 25,000 kV. All right, so here's 25,000 kV, and their test is a no-load test. And it looks like they're using 2 volts. So they got 50,000 RPMs out of 2 volts. So 25,420. So we're just a little bit over 26,000 kV. So I'm going to say, we're good. But this is kind of neat information, specification sheets, and anytime you're planning a build, this is kind of where you're at. The voltage, current, the thrust is the big thing. How many watts you're using, and then you can go amps per hour, so you can kind of figure out where you're at. How long of a flight time you got. There's a lot that goes into building an efficient quad. But anyway, pretty cool. They have the no load data like legitimate here, so that's kind of cool. So let's jump back over the bench. All right, so we got all of our kV measurements and kind of got our voltages. So I think that's it for now. Anything in this process that you've seen that doesn't meet your expectations, let me know in comments. Lots to read about if you want to learn further along than just this. Like I said in the description, I'm going to put the information that I found that I think squared it up the best and explained it the best. But yeah, if this helped you out, help me out and subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, you give it a thumbs down. It all works. Enjoy the breeze.